Maslin.
Call 833-853-3094 for offer details. Offer ends 2/28/26.
WHBC AM Canton. Reliable as ever. Powered by Friends and Family Credit Union. It's time to bring a friend into the family. On News Talk 1480 WHBC.
The Kenny and JT Show. Powered by Roosters. A fun, casual joint.
Well, we've been so caught up in
All-Star Weekend and what went down over the weekend, good and bad. The Guardians starting spring training today for school squad workout. The Browns made some headlines in the last couple of days as well, hiring their new defensive coordinator. The Browns hired Mike Rutenberg, and he comes from the Atlanta Falcons to Cleveland. And to find out more about this move, let's go to the hotline. We bring in the outstanding Browns beat reporter 92.3, the fan, also Browns Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter at Right or Wrong Fan. He is Daryl Ruiter. Daryl, thanks for joining us as you always do. Whenever there's breaking news with the Cleveland Browns. Tell me your thoughts on the hiring of Mike Rutenberg to replace Jim Schwartz.
Hell, I mean, just like the Todd Monken hire, I was surprised. I was filling in on our morning show Monday morning, and I jokingly said that I thought it would be between Jason Tarver and Corey Undlin, so watch them hire Rutenberg, and that's exactly what happened. That's the direction they went. So, yeah, I was a little surprised by it. I'll be honest with you, never heard of the guy until he was in the Browns coaching search. So, he's the new defensive coordinator, and we'll see what he's able to do to not mess up what was a perfectly fine defense.
You don't sound too thrilled about it, Daryl. Which one would you have preferred out of the three finalists, and why are you not maybe that thrilled about this hire?
It's not that I'm not thrilled. It's just he's an unknown. Like I said, I never heard of this guy until the Browns hired him. So, I know it looks like on paper that he will use a lot of the same concepts that Jim Schwartz used here. I don't know if he will continue to do the wide nine. I'm not sure if he's going to be big into the man-to-man. Atlanta did zone, which that's not what Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell and the Browns secondary is really good at. So right. I just have a tremendous amount of questions about how this guy fits what Todd Monken said, and that is, hey, we're not changing the defensive system. So I just feel like there's a lot of questions here with this guy.
Daryl, as I look at this, right, and you were hoping that Schwartz would stay on, but I understand why he left. I would have left, right, unless they would have paid me like more than they were paying the head coach to be the head coach. I get it, right? You get slighted like that, so you want nothing to do with the organization. Were they not prepared for that, the Cleveland Browns? Did they think they were so great of an organization, they're not dysfunctional and all that they were going to be able to keep Jim Schwartz even though they weren't going to hire him as the head coach?
Yeah, I don't get why it took him 10 days to hire a defensive coordinator. It made no sense to me. And like the head coach search, it seemed like it was pretty sloppy, right?
Okay.
And again, they landed on Mike Rutenberg. That's what they landed on when they spun the magic wheel. Okay, whatever. Like that was my, that's just kind of like my reaction to the whole thing here. It's been a bizarre 35-6 days into this, what Jimmy Haslam called a critical 120 days for this franchise, which includes free agency, includes the draft and whatnot. It's just been a very bizarre start to this whole thing. And you know what? Look, maybe it all works out. I'm not confident it will. I've covered the Browns long enough to know how these movies end, but everyone gets a fair shake, a clean slate here. And, but it has been very, very bizarre.
And yet, Daryl, this team refuses to embrace the fact that they need a drastic rebuild. I mean, if you watch the Miami Dolphins cutting players left and right, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be about a $90 million cap hit that I believe if they can't find some sucker to trade for, that they're just going to absorb. The same way the Denver Broncos did. Same way other teams have done it. Why wouldn't the Browns embrace the fact that they need to rebuild, and or if the Miami Dolphins can absorb a $90 million cap hit on Tua, we can't do the same with Deshaun Watson?
Well, you can't, because Deshaun it's like $100 and some million. That's why they have to use the 26, the 27, and the 28 cap years to get out from underneath the contract. Number one. Number two, we still don't know what's going on with Joel Bitonio right now. I've been trying to find out all day. Is he retiring? Are they going to give him an extension? What are they doing? Right now, it looks like they're absorbing around a $23.5, $24 million salary cap hit if he just walks away. Okay?
Wow.
The dead cap is going to win them no games this year. They've got a lot of dead cap coming to them this year. There is no mathematical formula for them to get out from underneath Deshaun Watson's contract this year or next year. It's just the way it is. They have been kicking that can down the road. They're probably going to do another restructure this year of that contract to free up some more money, but it is going to take them a 3-year process from a salary cap standpoint, even though this will be the final year that they pay him cash to get out from underneath that contract.
There you go, JT. That's why they can't do it. Well said, Daryl Ruiter, breaking it down for you as only he can here on the Kenny and JT Show. Follow him on Twitter at RuiterWrongFan as well as on Instagram. I hate to bring this up, Daryl, but because of this situation with a new coach in his first year, a lot of us don't think they're close to being a Super Bowl team, even though New England went from 4-13 to the Super Bowl this past year. Could they have an offseason similar to that of the Guardians where they do absolutely nothing and just bring back the team as is with the exception of maybe trying to fix the offensive line?
No, that's not going to happen. They're going to have to rebuild the entirety of the offensive line, it looks like. David Njoku said bye-bye on Instagram. They are going to have to at least replace his roster spot in the tight end room. Harold Fannin is tight end number one. He showed that as a rookie. So technically David's been replaced, but you're going to have to tweak the tight end room. May need another piece in the running back room behind Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. We'll see there. Wide receiver, goodness gracious, they need to take some napalm to that room. Outside of Jerry Jeudy, who had a lousy attitude last year, they need to rebuild that room top to bottom. And then there's the obvious questions that we have each and every year when it comes to the quarterback situation, where do they dare see if Deshaun Watson can walk again? Do they dare turn this thing over to Shedeur Sanders? Do they bring somebody in? Do they trade for somebody? Do they sign Malik Willis as a free agent who's going to cost you $20, $25, maybe $30 million a year, and he has started fewer games than Shedeur Sanders has started, and has put up comparable numbers to what Shedeur Sanders put up. So, no, they're not running it back this year. That offense is getting rebuilt from the ground up.
I just bring that up, Daryl, because, again, the following year quarterback class, and I know that was supposed to be it last year and this year, that's where everybody seems to be targeting now with the guys that are scheduled to come out next year in the draft, where I don't know with the salary cap situation that they can fill all of their holes this year. I thought maybe they would try and get some offensive linemen, maybe a receiver, and then just run it back and really prepare for the following year and then the years after that with the domed stadium. I'm just thinking outside the box that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't fix everything in one off season, right? But you sure can try and fill some holes.
Right.
And, fixing the offensive line or at least fielding an offensive line, that's not going to be hard. They're going to draft at least 2 offensive linemen there. You need, 3 or 4 other guys in free agency. Okay, that's pretty easy to do there in the offseason. And obviously you got to be very careful financially with not only the cash you spend, but the cap space that just ends up being assigned to those guys. So, yes, they're going to make moves, this offseason where it's not going to be a finished product, and that is why I am not sitting here thinking that they are the New England Patriots of 2026, where they go from a double-digit loss team to a Super Bowl championship contender one off season. Drake May is not here in Cleveland. They don't have anyone resembling that talent level. Their schedule actually will be similar to New England's. The
Right.
Patriots benefited significantly by a very friendly schedule. They only played a couple of games against teams with over 500 records and whatnot. The Browns, we did the math yesterday on our show. They could have won 8 games last year. They should have beaten Tennessee. They should have beaten the Jets, and they should have beaten the Vikings. Okay, it would have been the most disgusting 8-9 football team that you've ever seen. Okay, and that plays into the against my argument, which was I don't know, were you expecting anything different last season? And clearly, that the Haslams and the Browns were, and understandably so. When you take a moment and step back and you look at how that season played out, in spite of the fact that the offense averaged less than 17 points per game for, I think, the 19th time since 1999. Like, scoring, 20 points is like the Great Wall of China for this franchise. Everyone else in the league does it with regularity, and it's breaking news if the Browns are able to do it. And they did it 4 of the 6 years that Kevin Stefanski was here. But, when you go back and you look at how last season unfolded in those games, the Browns should have won 8 games. They didn't. Now, I could flip it around and say, well, they shouldn't have beaten Green Bay, right? Raising that 10-point lead with like less than 2.5 minutes to play. Like, they should not have won that. So it does, in my view, I think it balances out a little bit, and they are what they are, and that is a 5-win team. But I think that this coming season, at least right now, having no idea what the quarterback situation is going to play out, what they're going to do as far as all the changes they are going to make offensively, I think that maybe 6 or 7 wins is a realistic expectation. I certainly am not going to drink this Kool-Aid that Todd Monken and his new band of coordinators is going to come in here and all of a sudden work miracles and turn this thing into a playoff contender in one season, because I just don't feel like that is realistic at all.
Never going to do it with the personnel that you've got on this team right now. I wasn't sold on Jim Schwartz's defense the last couple of years. It didn't travel. And again, if you want to just look at their record, you are what your record says you are. You won 8 games in 2 years. Your defense can't win all the games, but they sure can keep you in some of them. I want to look at a personnel aspect of this and say that last year, when they had the opportunity, instead of offering Myles Garrett, great season, record-setting season, I get that. But if you could have gotten a couple of first-round draft picks and a team that's so void of talent, I don't see how you didn't take it. Would they be interested, and I know it's clickbait during the NBA All-Star break, are they going to revisit possibly with, unfortunately, the same general manager, but new leadership as far as your coaching staff is concerned? Would they revisit possibly trading Myles Garrett this offseason?
No, I don't think Myles is going anywhere. Again, you're talking about a cap hit that they can't afford. I mean, that's just, and that's what people have to understand. You're not trading players here. It's easy to say trade these players. Mm-hmm. You can't do it from a salary cap standpoint, because what happens is all signing bonus and guaranteed money in said contract. While you may not ultimately end up paying that out of pocket because it's spaced out over the duration of the contract, the reality is that all of that becomes a massive cap charge on his contract. And so you can't do it. His base salary, if I remember how they structured the contract extension, his base salary is really low up until 2029 and 2030. It's like the veteran minimum, 1.3 million and change. I forget what the exact number is for like the veteran minimum. But then the final 2 years of his deal, his base salary jumps up to like, I want to say 37, 38, $39 million, something like that. Okay. And so, like if they were to trade him now, his dead cap hit would be over $100 million. If they traded him next year, it's $55 million. Then you get to 2028. Now it's down to like 13 million with 4 million, like remaining. So like it just is practically impossible to be able to do that. And his like actual cap numbers, like I think his cap number this year is similar to Joel Bitonio's. It's around like 24 million and change or something like that. And then it starts to go up to like 30 and
gotcha.
And eventually it's going to go up to like 65 million, one season. And I think as last year, it's below 60, but then there's like some void years that are put on this contract as well. So he technically does not come off their books, even though the contract runs to 2030. He technically does not come off their books till like 2032 or 2033. It's similar to the, you know what I'm saying? So, at some point, and Andrew Berry's thought process has actually played out. Like the salary cap this year is supposed to be over $300 million, right? So all the caps charges he keeps kicking down the road, while it seems significant, the actual value of those cap dollars is getting smaller because the salary cap is still increasing, if that makes sense. So
yep, absolutely.
So the thought process there is there, but yeah, there's no way they can trade Myles Garrett. Someone wrote about cutting Denzel Ward and how that would free up some salary cap space. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would free up salary cap space, but that would be a really stupid move to make from a personnel standpoint because he's one of the best shutdown corners in the National Football League right now, and he's not even 30 years old. So, okay, great. Go ahead and cut your best player or your second best player on your defense, and let's see how that works out for you next season. So, they're going to be fine this offseason to move to make the moves that they're going to need to make. I think as we have the conversation right now, they got about $2 million in salary cap space. They don't have to be cap compliant until the new league year hits in mid-March. They will be. They'll have plenty of room to go ahead and make whatever moves they have to make. But Andrew Berry will do what he always does and work on these restructures here in the next couple of weeks.
See, to me, it sounds like what you're saying is in order to trade a guy, you've got to do it before the long-term extension then, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of doing the long-term extension is, number one, you keep your player. Number two, you give yourself the runway to be able to not only pay said player market value to keep them, but also at the same time, you can kick salary cap down the road and, and Andrew Berry's, spot, it's like, well, that's going to be somebody else's problem, right? Because he's probably not going to be here in 2032. Let's be honest about it. But yeah, that is one of the advantages of when you sign your guys to long-term deals is it gives you the flexibility year after year to convert their signing bonus, or I should say their salaries to signing bonuses, because that allows you to spread that cap hit over the length of the contract. You either put void years on the back end of the contract to spread that out, or you do what they did with the last Deshaun Watson restructure and that there's a dummy year on Deshaun's contract for 2027, I believe. And it's for it's again, the veteran minimum, non-guaranteed, $1.3 million. He will not see that money, but that dummy year is put on there to help them engineer the post-June 1 cut in 27 so they can spread the remaining cap charge left on Deshaun's contract over 2027 and the 2028 league year.
Daryl Ruiter is our guest. Follow him on Twitter at RuiterWrongFan, also on Instagram. Hear him on 92.3 The Fan. Daryl, I wrote it down, and I'm curious to get your input on this. is the new coaching staff of Todd Monken, head coach, Travis Switzer, offensive coordinator, Mike Rutenberg, defensive coordinator, and special teams coach Byron Storr better than the coaching staff that Browns had this past year?
Yeah, I think it's an unknown. I'm not dodging the question, Kenny, but I honestly have no idea. Like I said, I'm being honest. I never heard of Mike Rutenberg until he was hired, and like all the stuff that's coming. Oh, he's a great teacher, and he does know all the concepts that Jim Schwartz had. I mean, the Williams brothers, Greg Williams and his son Blake have been on social media touting how they've worked with Rutenberg before and taught him everything he knows. You know what I'm saying? So there, for me, it's like, okay, he was a pass game coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons last year. Now, I will say the Falcons defense, like just looking at some of the things they ran, they blitzed a lot. They were very successful, pressuring the quarterback and whatnot. And obviously that's, Jim Schwartz doesn't blitz. Like Jim Schwartz allowed the defensive line just to do what the defensive line does. So I think that might be a little different for the Browns, that they're going to maybe blitz more than they did before. Travis Switzer, again, just one of these. Who is that guy? He's an up and comer. And again, you talk to people around the league about him, and they sing his praises. And, the same thing with Storr. So, look, I'm going to say special teams was absolutely an upgrade. And I'll just remind people, hey, we were all giving him a standing ovation 4 years ago when they fired Mike Prefer to hire Bubba Ventrone, right? That was the, you got to have it guy, instant upgrade and whatever. And it ended up being a disaster for 3 years. So just because it might not get you excited on paper does not mean it cannot be successful. So we'll see just how successful these guys can ultimately be.
D, what does your gut tell you about Joel Bitonio? Are they going to let him ride off into the sunset, or is he? Do you think he's done?
Well, I've been trying to find out because, again, today's the 17th. The decision needed to be made yesterday, as far as his contract went, and the salary cap hit, right? Because he's got a $24 million hit figure, and the only way to get out from under that is if they extended him. And I don't believe that they have done that. So I would say silence is not necessarily the greatest sign in the world, or if he is going to play again, it's not going to be here with the Browns. So like I said, I've been trying to find out what's going on with him, and no one's returning any messages right now. So I think right now, I'm leaning towards his days with the Browns are most likely over, but we'll see.
All right, Daryl, before we let you go, a lot of great Browns information there for us. Your thoughts on the Cavs as well as they get ready for the final third of the season. Currently, they are in fourth place in the Eastern Conference, but they have the best record since January 1st, and, of course, 3-0 with James Harden, Keon Ellis, and Dennis Schroeder. Did they do enough to get into the top two spots in the East, and are they a better team now and have a chance to win a title with the moves they made?
Yeah, I think so. I anticipate they will, at worst, be the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, assuming that they remain healthy, Evan Mobley comes back, etc. James Harden is more available than Darius Garland is, and I think that it's very, very clear that the window for the Cavaliers is basically 2 years. They are trying to get this done in the next 2 years. Kobe Altman has shifted his philosophy from, hey, we're with Darius, we're going to, and Evan and that, this runway is 3, 5, maybe 7 years. No. It's 2 years. And they're also trying to show Donovan Mitchell the urgency as well. I anticipate in the summer they're going to be in on Giannis, and Evan Mobley will be the chip that they will dangle to try and make that happen as well, depending how this whole thing goes. I saw the report today about LeBron would be welcomed back for his final season with the Lakers. Obviously, they're tired of hearing the rumors that LeBron's camp is ready for him to come back to Cleveland for the retirement tour next year. So this is their way of kind of countering some of that narrative that really was boiling over during NBA All-Star. But, yeah, I do think that the Cavaliers are a better basketball team today. They're bigger in the backcourt, which I think is important. I think that's also James Harden's propensity to pass the ball. He can go get his own, don't get me wrong, but he is very good at distributing the basketball. And I think that's going to be very good news. We've already seen it with Jared Allen. I think it's going to help Evan Mobley and also Donovan too. So I was shocked by the news because of I know how committed to the core four that Kobe Altman was, but I give Kobe credit for finally getting off that, because I just didn't think that core four was ever going to win an NBA championship. And I think the Harden move makes them a better team and gives them a better opportunity to be able to at least compete at that level, get past that second round of the playoffs. And again, I'm excited to see what they do in the offseason as well to compete for an NBA championship during the 26 and 27 campaign.
Daryl, great stuff as always. We always appreciate the time you make for us here on the Kenny and JT Show. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again down the road, covering all the teams, including the Guardians, who threw their first official pitches today with a full team squad workout, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to enjoy this Guardian season because there's probably not going to be one next year. So,
unfortunately, I think you're right on that, Daryl. Thanks so much. There is Daryl Ruiter. Follow him on Twitter at WriterWrongFan and on Instagram. You can listen to him, 92.3 The Fan, the Browns Radio Network, and occasionally right here on the Kenny and JT Show.